Yeah, and then, of course, you got Brandon Scherf from Iowa, who's Outland Trophy winner. Again, kind of carries the banner for offensive linemen, not only at Iowa, but also in the Big Ten, the outstanding, the big lineman. Rob Haverstein from Wisconsin, we really like him. 6'8", 327 pounds, big, strong guy. A guy that surprised the heck out of us this year, and I know you were down at the Senior Bowl, but he was kind of up and down at Penn State, but Donovan Smith actually had a good week and helped himself a lot at the Senior Bowl this year. So, but big white-bodied guy, and of course, hey, you got a speed guy coming off the edge, and Randy Gregory from Nebraska, a guy that's very well thought of. A lot of folks think he's going to go in the top 5 picks. Carl Davis, a big tackle from Iowa, defensive interior guy that a lot of people like. But one of our favorites, he's a Chicago kid too, is Louis Trinket-Passat from Iowa. His motor never stops running. He plays football like I talk fast. You know what I mean? So he's a terrific football player. So there's a few that scratch surface. And I forgot Trey Wayne, corner up at Michigan State. There's a guy that he may be the top corner in this draft now. After Eiffel from Oregon got hurt, I think Trey Waynes might move right into that spot. And at Michigan State, he's 6'1", about 183 pounds, and really a good football player. So, hey, the Big Ten's gonna be getting a few first rounders, second rounders in there this year.
I remember Bill Parcells is charged with the quote or sort of the statement that in that first round of the draft, that's the time to draft the freak, draft the incredibly athletic player. Some would say edge pass rushers tend to be that incredibly athletic player like Jadeveon Clowney. Who would you tell Bill Parcells, here's the freak in this draft class, the freak athlete?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know. It isn't really a Clowney, but obviously, Gregory has got some that athletic talent. We like Ray as a pass rusher, Shane Ray out of Missouri. He's an explosive guy. The funny thing this year is, I don't know if you've really got a lot of splash play guys, but there is one that, if Bill Parcells says, hey, Dan, who would you take at any position? And I didn't need a quarterback. I think Leonard Williams from Southern Cal would probably be the guy that I'd say that. I don't think he's Ndamukong Suh, but I think he's pretty darn good, and I'd love to have him on my team. Yeah. So I think that Leonard Williams would probably be the guy.
That's great. I'm sure Leonard right now is thanking you very much for that comment. So you sort of intimated to this year's draft class. I know last year people talked about it being one of the deeper draft classes around. I had, before the season began, sort of prognosticated that last year's draft class would be one of the bigger contributors to NFL teams during the course of the season. How do you view this year's draft class compared to others? Because I know that's one of the things as a scout you have to do.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Jim. I think this is probably pretty mediocre at a lot of spots. Tight end isn't strong. Guards and centers are, mediocre. The type of defensive ends you want. If you want some speed guys and things, you're going to get those outside 3-4 linebackers. There's some of those guys, but, if you're a 3-4 team or a 4-3 team, that if you're looking for a right end pass rusher, there's not a lot of those. The safeties are very mediocre, and of course the quarterbacks are awful. If you get your grade, then you probably get a D. And in fact, it kind of reminds me of the 2007 draft. If you look back in the 2007 draft, that was the Jamarcus Russell, Brady Quinn, draft, and I think there might be one quarterback left around, still maybe as a backup guy or something, but that was pretty awful. And this one, is not a whole. Hey, this one might rival that one. Hopefully, Jameis and Mariota will carry the banner there. But after that, you're talking about guys that are third teamers and things like that.
Wow, so you're literally saying if you're a team that needs a quarterback like the Buccaneers, the Jets, The Titans will probably stay firm with who they have, but maybe the Texans. Wow, you think they need to go after one of those top two guys, or else there may be very little for them left to have.
Well, hey, you look then the next year, just talking about 2016,
yeah.
The top guy might be Cook, out of Michigan State, or Dak Prescott. I mean, they're just, you don't know, so they may emerge, but no, it's really, really lean, and somebody, may pop up and be a good backup, kind of guy, but not an NFL franchise starter. And by the way, the Jets would be stupid if they let Geno Smith go out of there. They got a new offensive coordinator and get some more weapons. But I mean, everybody, this throwaway society. Everybody wants to. If they think you're going to get, a player off the tree, and it doesn't happen, you guys develop these guys. But anyway, that's the 24-hour radio show.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, a team like the Raiders, very fortunate to have had the luck that they had with their rookie quarterback last year. And I suppose the Jaguars, too, with Blake Bortles, even though, it wasn't the greatest season on earth for a quarterback in general, as a rookie, it wasn't all that bad.
No, and he was a big, strong, they didn't want to start him. They wanted to bring him along to develop, but hey, he looked the best even in preseason, so they had to put him in there later on to develop him. And, you get experience under fire. I mean, actually, it's the best way, but I kind of like to let a guy, put him on the bench and salt him away a little bit, and at least give him a year or two, and then get him ready to go.
Dan, the flavor of the day when it comes to draft scouting or scouting for the NFL draft has been identifying the sleeper or deep sleepers in these drafts. I mean, I was going nuts last year doing a mock draft. It was a multi-round, and people were drafting guys that were really 6th, 7th round draft picks in the 3rd or 4th round, but they were so up on them and just the greatest player. And yet I thought to myself, you should still draft these players at the time that they should be drafted and not reach. But my question to you is, in terms of sleepers, is there one or two you could share with the listeners out there that you think, hey, they're the guys to really look out for, and they could share it with their friends?
Well, let me preface this with what one of the great scouts in NFL history told me when I first broke into the league. His name was Walt Jaworski. Walt was actually the most valuable player in the Sugar Bowl when he played, and he helped break, I think it was Notre Dame's winning streak down there when they played the Sugar Bowl, but he's the most valuable player again. But anyway, Walt was a great guy now, and he says, Dan, when you're looking for sleepers, you get a sleepy team, and he was a long-time scout with Dallas, and he used to butt heads with Jerry Jones all the time, and he was one of the only ones that could, because I think Jerry respected him. But so anyway, the sleepers in this particular draft, like I tell you what, Mile Kiper used to call me when I was with different teams, say, "Hey Dan, you got any sleepers that I can take?" I said, "Hey, Mel, my paycheck here says Philadelphia Eagles or Washington Redskins, so I'm not telling you about any sleepers, and so that endeared me to Mel, but." But we still chat every now and then. But anyway, the guys that I like, I don't know if you want to call them sleepers or not, but like I said, you go back last year in the East-West, for instance. Those 19 guys. There's 19 guys there that didn't go to the combine or get drafted, and they made it on 53-man rosters. And hey, you call all those guys sleepers. Until you get on the field, for instance, and really show what your compete is. Yeah. You make it. And I tell you what, Jim, you know this. I signed over 25 free agents. Antonio Pierce, for instance, was one of them. I signed Hollis Thomas from Northern Illinois. I played 15 years. Those guys. So, those guys nobody even wanted. But they were big compete guys. They were smart, got in there, they knew football, and did a great job. But a guy I kind of like, I'll throw out as a corner at Oregon, Troy Hill, for instance. He's really a good football player. I like him. There's another corner at Towson by the name of Ty Smith, who, you'll be hearing about him. Craig Megger, from Texas State, another corner that we like, 5'11", about 200 pounds. Really like him, good football player. Let's see, there's a couple at Louisville that we really like. A guy named B.J. DuBois. He plays defensive end. Again, about 265 pounds, 6'4". Not really on the national radar, but a good football player. But there's guys now, the receivers, sometimes, when you have a good practice and things like that, you kind of stand out a little bit more. And then, of course, the running backs that we liked last year ended up doing some good things. But I think, there's a guy named out of Azusa Pacific by the name of Terrell Watson, who's a running back. He's about 6'1", 238, kind of like Jim, big and strong. And, he played against the, any high level competition, but good, strong guy, runs with his pads over his toes, things like that. And a guy, I don't know if he'll make it, but I absolutely would love him. He's really explosive. He's 5'11", 220 pounds. But Zach Zenner out of South Dakota State. My son actually played with Zach when Zach came in, and my son was leaving as a senior. And Zach rushed for 2,000 yards 3 years in a row up there. He played in the East-West and was great in practices. Didn't have much running room in the games because the defenses were so loaded up there. But again, a guy that's really he's going in pre-med, smart guy, doesn't need football down the line, 3-time academic All-American. Those are the kind of guys I like. 3-time regular All-American. He does it all. Smart kid. Then again in the Missouri Valley Conference, like John Crockett up at North Dakota State, and actually Dave Johnson. We talked about him earlier. He's in the Missouri Valley. A running back, a tight end, Michael, down at Southern Illinois. Really like him, and I tell you what, I had a brain freeze on his last name right now, but he's a good, he catches everything. But Michael Pruitt, and I should remember that because his first name is spelled M-Y and then C-O-L-E, Michael Pruitt. But got excellent hands. So there's a few sleepers for people to go to bed on.
Dan, we're getting towards the end of our time together, and it's only because of the number of questions I have. The time I allotted, we clearly went over, but that's okay. I was hoping, though, before we ended, you'd share one of the greatest stories I think I've ever heard from you about your time when you were scouting for the Eagles, and I can't remember who the owner was at the time, if it was Jeff Lurie or Norman Brahman, but the story sort of went along the lines, there was no head coach, and the owner came in and said, draft my team. I was hoping you'd share that with the listeners and sort of what came out of it.
Oh, yeah. What happened was, it was Jeffrey Lurie. It was, I think Jeffrey would have been drafted 98. But yeah, there was just three of us scouts. We didn't have a general manager, didn't have anything but the coaches. The coaches, and us three scouts, we, studied film because a couple of our general manager got let go. One of the other scouts ended up taking offensive coordinator's job at a major college. And anyway, we were down to three guys. One guy, Jake Hallam, in fact, he got 3 Super Bowl rings now with New England, and he retired this year. But he was one of the scouts, and I didn't see the series on Building Giants or whatever that was called, but Mark Ross, who is the player personnel director, college director with the Giants, was the other scout, and then me. And anyway, we put together the board and got everything lined up, and we actually studied tape together. After we got the word that we're going to help select this team, we got together and we studied all these guys and built the board up and things, but you're right. Mr. Lurie, he came in and says, "Hey, you guys are it. We don't have anybody else." So, and I think that he thought, "Oh gosh, I spent $200 million on this team, and now we're in deep trouble," And but anyway, he didn't know that the due diligence we'd already put in, and now we're looking at everybody in the country and stacking them and stuff like that. Well, long story short, is probably arguably, I guess, the best draft in Eagle history. And